Hi, everybody. My name is Jorge Castro. I'm really happy to be here in London. Actually, this is my second time in London, and you have a beautiful place here. It's an amazing place. So thank you very much for being here, for being part of this conversation, this share. So today I'm going to present some experiences working with large enterprises to define a strategy or a roadmap to adapt or to build SRE ways of working. So basically, I'm going to share with you real experiences from the trenches. And that is the name of my talk, Navigating the Path to Reliability, Crafting an SRE Roadmap for Enterprise Success. Here you can see my contact information. It would be awesome if after this talk, or maybe if you listen something that maybe interests you, we can discuss about it. So you can add me to LinkedIn if you like. Okay, so imagine for a second that you're in a plane and the pilot announces there is a 50% chance of engine failure, right? That is a really difficult situation, right? And actually that is why working on reliable products are quite important, especially for this kind of product, right? Airplanes and flight and health, difficult situation, right? Yes, actually that's the idea, right? SRE isn't just about keeping system up. It's more than that. It's about creating a culture of reliability that scales with the business. Yes, I say it. Culture, right? I am engineer. I love Kubernetes. I love AWS. I love all the stuff. And I actually code, right? But something that I learned working with business, with a scale SRE solution, is that you need to handle and you need to face to executive and so forth, right? So that is why I think culture is quite important, because at the end you need to deal with different people, right? People from executive, from development teams, engineers, quality engineers, and so forth. So I think if you want to build SRE ways of working at scale, culture is a quite important part. As I mentioned, basically I'm going to share with you real experiences about it. I prepared some stuff here, but that's it. I'm going to share with you real experiences. Okay, first of all, let's take care of the basics, right? It's important that we can align our ideas about some concept about SRE. This is quite important. At its core, I believe in that. SRE is about balancing reliability with innovation, right? It's not about creating more code or more stuff, which is important, right? But also at the same time, there is a balance that you need to keep, right, in a good situation with how reliable are your products. So I think in this roadmap, I'm going to share with you how to balance this kind of situation between make your products more reliable, but also taking care of your culture. Okay, some principles that I think are quite important, especially if you want to scale SRE. Number one, define the SLOs and the consequence. We are in business, so we need to take care of our SLOs, unfortunately. SRE must have time to make tomorrow better. Yes, I think you need to set up some time or book some time for continuous improvement in your strategy. You're going to see that in the roadmap. Number three, you need to have some agreements and some way to deal with workload. I think that nowadays the concept of cognitive load is a well-known concept. So I think we need to manage that as well. And finally, failures, opportunities, lesson learned, whatever name that you want to call it, it's quite important if you want to develop something at a scale, right? Okay, real life. So once upon a time, a real experience from the trenches, working with my different clients. Okay, I work with different clients and I got those situations with my clients, right? A lot of problems, lack of collaboration, resistance to change, low organizational resilience, high downtimes in the products, low product availability, real stuff, right? Day-to-day problems. So how to deal with those problems? Crafting the roads. After analyze all the situation, basically we recommend our clients to implement SRE ways of working. So we design a roadmap to implement this with our clients. Okay, those are three basic milestones that I recommend you to implement if you want to build SRE ways of working at scale. Basic three. Yep, that's 3 points. Number one, basically an assessment. You need to analyze the baseline. How is the status or the health of your development, your testing, your production, your infrastructure, You need to get that information. It's quite important. Because at the end, remember that if you want to change your system, you need to change not only one part of your entire system, right? You need to change the entire system. And number two, basically define the goals, the objectives, SLOs, SLIs, is quite important. And finally, the culture part, building a culture of reliability. An advice to you, if you want to develop SRE practices, you can do trainings, you can do workshops, webinars, whatever, right? But if you don't change in a little bit of culture and manage the cognitive load of your team and think on people, maybe you're going to fail. Maybe you're going to fail. Okay, by the way, the previous roadmap is just a kind of a simple roadmap. This one is a more detailed one. But today, because of the time, I am only going to share with you the simple one, right? But after this talk, we can talk and I can explain you more details about this roadmap, which is more detailed. Okay, first of all, the assessment, right? What I recommend you is, there are a lot of assessments in the market. We have a lot of assessment. But basically, I recommend you to have these pillars in your assessment, right? You need to measure observability. You need to measure automation, test, security, and operations. Basically, you need to ask some question about what is the status of that, how scale is the practice, how many people you have or experts you have in the practice, and so forth, right? And you can use some KPIs indicators to measure each of these pillars. Depending of the questions, depending of the answer of your questions, you can design this maturity level, so you can work with that. I know that there are some people that don't like maturity assessment. In my experience, they are pretty useful, especially if you want to propose an SRE strategy to grow SRE at business level or in your enterprise. That is my recommendation because it's a good way to get a baseline that you can share with different people and you can present how is the current status of your practice. Okay. After that, as I mentioned, you need to work in the goals, in the objective of your transformation or your adoption. First recommendation, there is a very nice tool, the outcome canvas. As you can see here, it's a canvas that you can co-create this with your team, with your, maybe your technical leaders, with your SRE team members, and so forth. You can work together with them and with your leaders, and you can prepare this canvas. Basically, in this canvas, as you can see here, you can explore and discover what are the main goals of your transformation or your adoption, what are the key results, the metrics, the outcomes that you're looking for, and the statements. It's a good collaborative practice to work with your team and get this canvas. Okay, about this also as well, SLOs also, I recommend you to use this canvas. If you work in a team with engineers, you need to define what are the SLOs, SLIs of your products or your services. You can use this canvas, right? In this part, this is an example of a real implementation. You have the service, you have the user journeys, the critical user actions. Then with that information, you can say, okay, because of this user, because of this journey, and because of these services that I want to sell, I want to prepare for them, I can prepare these SLOs, SLEs, and you can define it. Okay, and about the culture, which is something really important, right? Diversity. I know that maybe you work in companies with people from different countries, right? From South America, maybe from Europe, from India, from Asia, whatever, right? Each of them has different cultures, different languages, different experiences, and so forth. This is my first recommendation. Remember that we work in a global and diverse teams, so we need to involve each of them in a continuous delivery. In this case, the SRE ways of working adoption, right? At the end, reliability is everybody's job. Okay, first recommendation, part of the roadmap, working with communities. Actually, this is a good example, right? Because we are here right now because in some way we are part of the same community, right? We all like technology, right? We are involved in SRE business or IT business. We are a kind of community, right? My advice here is that you need to try to reproduce the same, but in your company, right? In my experience, create an SRE community of practices inside a large enterprise is quite useful, right? You need to set up a community, set up some goals, involve the people, and try to align them in terms to the transformation, the adoption of new practices. Yeah, that is my recommendation. Try to create a community inside your company, in this case about SRE. The purpose of the community is bringing together experts and enthusiasts to share knowledge, skills, and experiences, related to improving the reliability and performance of digital services and build those culture. So that's the idea, right? If you don't have experience setting up a community or designing a community, I recommend you to use this canvas as well. In this canvas, you can work with your team and basically you can design some important aspects of your community. Aspects like the purpose of the community, the team members of the community, the rules of the community, what is the governance, the communication channels, the experience, and the values and the rules. Quite important recommendation. If you want to design a community in your company and your goal is to build SRE, ways of working at scale, work with your developers. Ask them what are their recommendations about the community, right? What they expect, what are the goals that they want to achieve with the community. That is quite important. See the developers and team members as your clients if you want to design a community. Okay? SRE COP, that is also quite important, right? In my experience, in some cases, community fail, right? The community fail. And they fail because they are not aligned to the business. That is a problem when you define a community and you don't think in the business strategy. So my recommendation is, if you are going to design and implement a community in your company, you need to align your community goals to your strategy. I think that is quite important. Okay, I work for Entity Data. Basically, in my company, we create these communities. In my company, we call them studios. And basically, we create studios for SRE, for testing, for backend, for front, for cloud, for any kind of practice, for any kind of enterprise capability. In Entity Data, we are a global company. We create those studios. And basically, in those studios, we're looking for develop talent, develop practices, certifications, maturity of practices, and so forth. All of that to prepare people to deal with real business situation, right? That is our strategy at global level. So you can see here, this is a kind of map or diagram of what is studios in working with the business units in our company. This is a real example of a telecommunication company that we are working on right now, okay? So this is a recommendation, right? That you create your studios or you create your communities inside your company to build SRE practices. Okay. Until now, I think this is a kind of good story, right? But when you implement this in the real field, you are going to get problems, right? So I'm going to share with you some problems that I got, and more or less I could deal with them, more or less. First question, how do we make COP, communities of practices, SRE, last longer and more engaged, right? That is quite important. Recommendation, gamification. I don't know if you know what is gamification or game design, but if you want to innovate, or maybe you want to make SRE funny, more attractive to your people, I recommend to use gamification. This is a framework. Octalysis is a game design and human design framework to design games. So I recommend you to use this kind of gamification for building SRE practices. That is my recommendation. In my company and also with some clients, we implement some gamification approaches. So basically, we create some games where engineers can work with roles like Batmans and Robins, and they can exchange knowledge, they can support each other while they develop SRE practices. At the same time, they have fun and share knowledge. So that is my recommendation. If you want to make your community more engaged, you can practice gamification. Okay. Your question, right, Jorge? The tools, right?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, okay.
The tools, right? The tools. For these tools, sorry guys. For the tools, I recommend you to use Wardle Maps. I don't know if you are familiar with Wardle Maps, but Wardle Maps is a really nice tool make decisions about whatever thing, right? In this case, we use Wardle Maps to make decisions about what are the best tools for our business in terms of SRE adoption. That is my recommendation, that you can use Wardle Maps. To sum up, basically, I recommend you those 3 points in your roadmap to adopt SRE. Yeah, I think so. That is my final recommendation. Some books that I recommend you, those books are amazing. I strongly recommend are quite important. Especially in my experience, Soner Safer and Happier is a really great book that I recommend you. And finally, please keep sharing, keep sharing. At the end, we all want to score a goal. So we are a big community. So keep sharing. Thank you for your time here. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Do we have questions?
I like this guy.
Raise your hand.
Do you see this guy? Yeah, it's very funny, right? Hi.
Well, you mentioned gamification. I think that's a great idea. I don't have a lot of experience. Is there anything particularly that you would gamify, like particular behaviors or results? How do you approach it?
Yes. You need to. Yes. I think I can say the name. Do you know Verizon, the telecommunication company from US, the huge company? Yeah, okay. I worked for Verizon for more than 5 years. I can say this because I was part of the team who designed this. So at Verizon, we ran this game, which is basically the superhero challenge, right? The problem was we need to foster and we need to build, the problem was, right, that we needed to build SRE and DevOps practices at global, right? Because Verizon has business in America, in Europe, Asia, and over the places. For that challenge, we created this game, which was basically this, right? We identify the key team members with the strong skills. They were the Batmans. And also we identify the talents that they needed to develop these kind of skills, the Robins. And we make them work together, right? But combining people from Latin America, from Europe, from India, and so forth, so they work together in some challenges, right? While they were working in some tech challenge, the Batman shared the knowledge to the Robin, and the main goal of the Batman was to convert the Robin into a Batman, you know? So this is the kind of approach that you can use in using gamification.
I just have a small question about what would be the right model for SRE team, a newly functional SRE team, something like Scrum, Kanban. Which kind of models have you seen work for a newly formed team?
That is a good question. I think at the beginning, my recommendation should be use Scrum, right? Because you are developing new stuff, you don't have too many information about what is going to happen, right? Because you have the goal, you have the team, you need to discover the skills and the interactions. So I think at least at the beginning, you can try Scrum. And then depending of the interaction, depending of how your product or your service is going to mature, you can change maybe to Kanban. But at the beginning, Scrum, I think, would be the recommendation. Oh, thank you.
Talking about the Batman-Robin situation, could you give more of an example in terms of like the challenge that was set?
Yeah, of course. Hackathons. Basically, we use hackathon, right? For example, I remember that we try to collect real problems in a company. For example, we had some discussion with marketing team, right? They had some portals to sell the Verizon products, and they say that they had a lot of reliable problems in the applications. That is a situation. We put together the Batman and Robins working together to sort out those kind of problems. So that's my recommendation. If you are going to use gamification, try to find real problems in your company. Don't invent stuff. That is my recommendation.
Questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.